Clearly, you had experiences that were at multiple schools.
Yes.
And every school is unique.
Yes.
And that's the blessing of your career, the differences, even though there were some similarities. So how did you sort out what the needs of the schools were when you went to those schools?
Wow. Well, I think the first thing that I found was it was difficult because when I became principal, I was new to the district. It was unlike being in a district where you had taught, you had moved your way up, and you had a history and people knew you. So I was a newcomer, so I had to establish a rapport with my staff, the community, as well as now I'm trying to find out information about what needs to happen at these sites. So the first thing is listen. Listen, listen, listen. I made myself available. I went to the staff lunchroom, had lunch with the staff, giving them the opportunity to ask me questions just to develop that trust. So I could really get the information about what were the needs and what did we need to do. I went out on the playground. I talked to the classified while they were out there and teachers. I talked to the kids. I made a point to go in classrooms every day. Got to be in those classrooms to see what's actually going on. And if they know you're a principal and you're coming around all the time, then things are going to be different than if they, oh, I see them coming out the window and now I'm going to do what I need to do, which unfortunately happens.
I know, I love to tell the story when I was a new teacher in LA Unified. Nobody ever came to our classrooms and paid attention to what we did. And so one day, the reading teacher opens the door of my room and she said, the district's here, put on a good show. And I'm just kind of, what? And then I found out, talking to the staff, that they had canned lessons that when the word got around the school, and it was a school of over 1,000, that the district was there, they pulled out those lessons that made them look good.
Right. And being in LA at one time too, I had the same exact experience. So I think the other thing too is I organized staff meetings with teachers, with classified, with parents, going to ELAC, going to GATE, meeting with special needs parents. And I did a process that worked for me. And that was hanging up charts on the walls and saying, let's talk about what do you think is working well at the school? And then what is not working? And from that experience with all of those different groups, I would then take those charts and hang them in our staff lunchroom. So everything was on public display. There were no secrets. I encouraged people, as I sat and chatted, go and add to those charts. What else? And then we would take them back to meetings and we would find where there were the common threads. And it was interesting because there were common threads. And then we would look at identifying what are our needs, what do we need to start on. And from that we would develop a plan. So the plan then came through a different route of developing a leadership team at the sites. But the biggest thing was really looking at those needs. And then you can't walk away from them. We would come back to them quarterly and reassess. Is this working? If it's not working, then we need to change and go a different route. And unfortunately, being a classroom teacher for so many years, that was the one thing I saw never happen. You know, I worked for so many administrators, they'd come up with these plans, and then we never talked about it again. So I made a point, let's look at it, what feels good, what's working, how do we need to tweak it? Because they usually need to be tweaked. And we would do that continuously. So by the end of the year, we would then come back together and say, were we successful? If so, why? If not, why? And what do we need to do different?
Now, you mentioned gathering data, but you didn't mention data.
Correct.
I wanted to say the word quantifiable. I'm done with this videotape. Qualitative versus quantitative is what I was trying to say.